Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about a word you hear all the time for everything from supercars to lawnmowers, horsepower. It's our go-to shorthand for power. But what does it actually mean? Well, the story behind it has less to do with physics and way more to do with one of the greatest marketing moves of the Industrial Revolution. So let's get right to it. What is 1 horsepower? Is it, the actual power of a single horse? You'd think so, right? But the answer is not really. It's a unit that was basically invented out of pure necessity to sell a world-changing machine to people who just couldn't wrap their heads around it. I mean, just look at today's world. We are obsessed with this number. A car like the Dodge Demon 170 has over 1,000 horsepower. That one number tells you pretty much everything you need to know, right? It's the ultimate badge of honor. But to really understand what it means, we got to go way back. All right, let's set the scene. Our story starts in the late 18th century with this brilliant Scottish inventor, James Watt. He had designed a revolutionary new steam engine, but here's the kicker. He couldn't get anyone to buy it. You see, his problem wasn't with the technology. His problem was marketing. Watt's engine was an absolute game changer. Think about this. It used 75% less fuel than the other engines out there. I mean, on paper, it should have fooled itself. But the people he was trying to sell to, well, they weren't engineers. They were business owners running breweries and mines. And this is where it all clicks. Imagine you're Watt. You're trying to get people excited about steam pressure and cylinder displacement, but your customers are just looking at you blankly. Their entire world ran on horsepower. So they cut through all the jargon with one simple question. Look, buddy, that's great, but how many of my horses does this thing replace? And right there, Watt had his light bulb moment. He realized he had to start speaking their language. He needed to create a kind of currency, a simple unit of power that could bridge the gap between his complex engine and their reality. So he decided, okay, fine, I'm going to define exactly what the power of a horse really means. Now, to do this, we need a super quick, I promise, painless physics lesson. First up is the concept of work. All work means in physics is using a force to move something a certain distance. So if you lift a 10-pound bag of groceries 3 feet off the floor, boom, you've done 30 foot-pounds of work. Simple. Okay, so that's work. Now, for the next piece of the puzzle, power. Power brings in the all-important idea of time. It's not just that you did the work, it's how fast you did it. Lifting that same bag of groceries in 1 second takes a lot more power than taking a whole minute to do it. So power is simply the rate at which work gets done.
So how did Watt get his number? Did he run a bunch of experiments on horses? Nope. He went to a coal mine and watched the ponies they used to lift coal. He calculated that a single pony could do about 22,000 foot-pounds of work in a minute. And then, and this is my favorite part, he basically just made an educated guess. He figured, a horse is probably about 50% stronger than a pony. He added that on top, rounded it up to a nice, big, memorable number, 33,000, and bam, that became 1 horsepower.
And this is where the marketing genius really shines. The key is, he intentionally set the bar for 1 horsepower a little bit higher than what an average horse could actually do all day long. So what happened? When a customer bought a 5 horsepower engine from him, it always felt more powerful than 5 actual horses. He built an under-promise, over-deliver guarantee right into the unit of measurement itself. Absolutely brilliant. But the story doesn't stop there. You'd think that would be it, right? Nope. As technology moved forward into things like electricity and thermodynamics, Watt's simple definition had to be tweaked, and this created a whole family of different units, all confusingly called horsepower.
Yeah, check this out. This is where you realize not all horsepower is created equal. The mechanical horsepower we use in the US is about 745.7 watts, but in Europe, they often use metric horsepower, called PS, which is actually a tiny bit less. Then there's electrical horsepower, which is standardized at 746 watts. And don't even get me started on boiler horsepower. It's a measure of thermal energy, and it's over 13 times more powerful. So yeah, next time you hear horsepower, you can ask, which one?
Okay, so how do we measure it today? It's not like they have ponies on a treadmill at the Lamborghini factory. The reality is, in modern engineering, horsepower is almost never measured directly. Instead, it's calculated from 2 other values you've definitely heard of: torque and RPM. Now, torque versus horsepower. This confuses everybody, but it's really pretty simple when you break it down. Torque is the raw, twisting force. It's the grunt that gets a heavy truck moving. Horsepower is how fast you can do that work. Here's the best way to think of it. Torque is the brute strength that breaks loose a stubborn jar lid. Horsepower is how fast you can spin that lid off once it's loose. Force versus speed.
And there's a little bit of magic math that connects them forever. Horsepower is equal to torque, multiplied by RPM divided by this very strange-looking constant, 5252. So where on earth did that number come from? It seems totally random, but I promise it's not.
That number, 5252, is basically the mathematical translator. It's the thing that connects Watt's original definition, that 33,000 foot-pounds per minute, to the physics of things that spin, like an engine. And here's a cool little party trick. Because of this formula, an engine's torque and horsepower curves always cross at exactly 5252 RPM. Go look up any dyno chart, you'll see it every time.
So, after all this history and math, let's bring it all the way back to the beginning. We've got this standard unit called horsepower, but how does it actually compare to the power of a real, living, breathing horse?
Get ready for this, because this is wild. It turns out that a real horse, for a short burst, can produce up to 15 horsepower. Yeah, 15. See, Watt's definition was based on a sustained, all-day work rate. And what's even crazier, look at us. An elite athlete like Usain Bolt can generate a peak of about 3.5 horsepower. We're surprisingly powerful creatures.
So where are we headed? Well, the world is slowly but surely moving on from horsepower. The scientific community and most of the globe already use the kilowatt. And with electric vehicles, this shift is accelerating. EVs are a whole different ballgame. They deliver all of their torque instantly, right from a standstill, which is why they feel so incredibly quick. And for them, kilowatts just make more sense. The conversion is pretty simple too. A 100 kilowatt motor is about 134 horsepower.
So why do we still cling to horsepower? I think it's because it's relatable. It's human. You can't really picture a kilowatt, but you can picture a horse. It connects all this complex engineering to something tangible, something we can understand. And that leaves us with a final thought. As our world goes electric and we start talking in kilowatts, what exactly do we lose when we finally, after more than 200 years, put the horse out to pasture?